stimulation of the Faraday current, exploit the normal peripheral nervous system. So you see, in all these patients, what I am doing is exploiting the nervous system which is normal. In your case and in my case. And in all stroke patients' case, the peripheral nervous system is normal. Then the spinal cord. The spinal cord is normal. There is no problem with the spinal cord. Stroke is in the brain. So what happens is the self-organizing brain, through instant plasticity, which the brain knows for millions of years, but the neuroscientists now know it for 3-4 decades, and we start to use the neuroplasticity. What happens is that the neuroplasticity comes in action right from the time when there is a hemorrhage or infarct in the brain. So brain, for its own safety, switches off. What do I mean by switch off? This is switching off. But I can switch it on. Isn't it? So it is as simple as that.
I think the brain is very smart. When I got my stroke, I got a clot up in the brain and it was stopped with blood. It found other ways to provide blood to the cells.
As you said, brain is very smart, brain is very wise, and brain tries to solve the problem. But what happens is that brain starts solving the problem. With the stroke, you must be having, we call it as a transient ischemic attack.
En tia.
TIA.
Är det du pratar om?
Propp i hjärnan.
Ja, en tia är ju en propp som inte, ja, det blir trångt när det
It is
går över.
unlike Mr. Finn.
Satt fast där.
Ja, då är det ingen tia, då är det en
Minor
stroke, minor stroke.
Like in his case, it is a complete stroke. So when that happens,
No, it was not a minor stroke. It was, they had to go in here and take it away.
so there was a clot.
Clot,
in the,
yeah, yes.
The clot was in the top part of the brain. So if it is in the cortex, I call it as a football ground.
Yeah.
Cortex is a football ground. And there are millions and billions of cells. So it doesn't matter if there is something wrong in the cortical region, because then I can recover 100%. But if the stroke is more deeper and deeper in the tissues which are more down and they are compact tissues, then you have a stroke which is a little bit difficult to handle. So at that point what happens, what I said is switching off. But if this is switched off, when there is a stroke, the brain switches off the cerebellum. Now, what do I mean by switches off the cerebellum? You know what is cerebellum? It's a small brain. Yeah? Everybody knows. You know, and we in our neuroscience, we have done a lot of research on cerebellum. But we in the rehabilitation field
Balans.
are not looking at it. For example, Vasa concept exists in the world, but nobody wants to look at it. Similarly, the cerebellum is existing here, but nobody wants to pay attention there because we are worried about the cortex, the descending pathways, and that voluntary control or the corticospinal tract is switched off, is disrupted, and the voluntary control is lost. Therefore, if I can make the world look at the cerebellum, that cerebellum switches off the moment there is a stroke. But cerebellum is not damaged. And you know what is cerebellum? Cerebellum is small little brain which only occupies 10% of the total mass of the brain. So if the brain is, let's say, 10 kilos, this is only 1 kilo. 10%. And the amount of information which enters the cerebellum is 40 times higher than comes out of the cerebellum. Now there is an input to the cerebellum, but the output from the cerebellum, where does it go? And from where does it come? So cerebellum is sitting in a place where it can manipulate, modify, reorganize the cortex. It has that power. It also has capacity capacity to influence the spinal cord. So he's sitting here, it can influence both. And it receives information from the peripheral nervous system through the muscle proprioceptors, which is normal. Your muscle proprioceptors are not paralyzed.
Can you say that the cerebellum... vad heter det? Nu tappade jag ordet. Jag tar det sen. Ja, varierar. Nej. Jag hade skitbra ord nyss.
Coordination, right?
Yeah, coordinate.
Yeah, but coordination,
No,
what we
yes.
see in terms of
Calibrate.
calibrate.
Calibrate was
It's a calibrator.
Yeah.
Yes. So when it is
That's
a
a word.
calibrator, and in our brain, we have two sides of cerebellum, right and left. Now what happens is when your left side is not working, then the peripheral nervous system, which is normal, your muscles are healthy, muscles are paralyzed, but they don't have a disease. Your muscle don't have a disease. Muscle is waiting to get waken up. So the muscle proprioceptors can send information from periphery to this cerebellum. But now it doesn't, or it sends very little, because you are using it very little compared to the other side. So this fellow is like fasting all the time. It is thirsty and hungry. But this side of the cerebellum is getting all the information. So what happens is that between the left and the right cerebellum, there is an imbalance. Agree? That there is an imbalance between this and this because of the input which is coming to this cerebellum and coming to this cerebellum. And in the center is the vermis. And this vermis controls the trunk. And we are constantly worried about the voluntary control. So we are constantly worried about the cerebellum and the most lateral or the new part of the cerebellum. We call it as a neocerebellum. So now once again, that proprioceptive information don't go to spine and then don't go to cerebellum. So the imbalance is created between this side of the spine and this side of the spine, and this side of the cerebellum and this side of the cerebellum. Now, the role of this cerebellum is to make cortex do what it wants to do, what is going on. For example, like right now when I'm doing this, the cerebellum makes me do this, that I should have this and not like that. So this calibration is from the cerebellum. So it has got ongoing information constantly in the cerebellum. Now, once again, we go back to stroke.
Excuse me, could I pose a question here?
Sure.
You said, if I heard you correctly, that the cerebellum categorically is not damaged in stroke, or?
1000% it is not damaged.
How do you...
Om stroken är if the stroke is on the cortex up here,
Yeah, if it
then the
is-
cerebellum is not
If
damaged.
there is a
But
cerebellar damage,
Yeah.
it is about 7 to 10% of the stroke patient of the 100%.
and you
When
base-
there is a cerebellar damage,
Yeah.
then it is about 7 to 10%.
And what do you base that figure on?
It's not my figure, it's written in the journal. of the
Statistically.
Times. It's statistics.
All right.
hur många procent av skadorna som är i cerebellum?
Hope you excuse me, but it's very...
I
it's
love
very,
your questions.
It's very fascinating what you say. You confirm this, Gunilla? Also?
Yeah, I think we cooperate with a French doctor,
A physiologist.
physiologist, and he checked
Yes.
the literature, and there's a bit
7 to 10%.
discrepancy in the published studies about the percentage, but I confirm that it's not so much, but let's say perhaps 10. I don't know. There are some different reports.
For example,
Okay.
when there is the hemorrhage is in the cerebellum, such patients are 7 to 10%. But the rest of the patients have the bleed or the infarct in the cortex,
Yes.
internal capsule.
Okay.
May I know, can I know a little bit about you? That I speak more scientific than.
No. Continue in this
Okay.
language. That's perfect.
We
Perfect.
can give
Yeah.
you some reference
Yes,
because I think
that's where I'm
in the-
interested, because
We can give
I
you
think
over two
I mean,
articles.
we are all very keen to learn more and more, isn't it? And
We will give
let's
you-
start on a ground where we all can follow, and then we can build and we can
Yes, so
start and
let's go back to what
Okay,
we were
please.
thinking.
Yes.
That how does the plasticity work? That there is a stroke, and as I said, the cerebellum, it switches off because it doesn't want patient to fall. So the control of the center of mass of the body, it comes where the cerebellum is in contact with the spine and the muscle. So brain, in order not to let you fall, it switches off the control on the side, where if the lesion is here, then this cerebellum is switched off. So far, am I right? Have everybody understood? The lesion is in this side of the brain, and so I'm paralyzed on this side,
Your lesion is on the left and you're paralyzed on the
on
right.
the right side. So it's the right cerebellum which switches off. And that's why, if you know, every doctor, every therapist tries to say, reload your leg, reload your leg. You remember this? Transfer your weight on the paralyzed side.
Do you use your what is it, pyramidal tracts instead of through cerebellum?
No.
It's
We
not
don't
not
use-
about those.
I didn't understand your question.
Vad heter pyramidala banorna?
Yeah, pyramidal what?
Vet inte vad det är, pyramidal
Yeah,
tracts.
but I don't use pyramidal tract.
You know pyramidal tracts.
Yeah,
okay,
of
but
course,
that's not.
corticospinal tract.
Yes, I said it right.
Pyramidal
Yeah. Okay.
So, in neuroscience, that corticospinal tract is disrupted, and the cerebellum that I'm talking about, when I say it is switched off, the neuroscience tells that there is a diakisis in this cerebellum. Now, what is diakisis? Diakisis is that the metabolism of the cerebellum reduces. So it doesn't take more oxygen, more blood, more glucose. And circulation of the cerebellum also reduces, is not what I am saying, it is what the neuroscience is saying. That there is a diakisis. What I am saying is that if you know that you are unable to load your paretic leg and you keep going only on the right side, in your case, you avoid the left side, this means that the cerebellum which got switched off was never made to get switched on. But why do I use the word switch on and switch off? Because if the brain switched off for safety of the center of mass of the body, and that's why you cannot reload it again, so it's switched off. But can we not switch it on again? We can, because your cerebellum is normal. And this is what specifically Vasa concept does, that we switch on the cerebellum. What does it do? How do I switch it on? And why do I switch it on?
You walk out in the unknown.
Yes, exactly. Because cerebellum is privileged to talk to cortex. And you can say, hey, shut up. Only send one army. Don't send 20 army. We don't need more than that. So that is the privileged position of the cerebellum. And the cerebellum can also tell the spinal neurons, and that's why most of the patients, they get that clonus. And they get afraid when they get clonus. But clonus is very beautiful because now cerebellum is telling, come on, you're only making one muscle fiber to act. You need 100. You need 1,000. So this is what cerebellum can tell the muscle through the spinal cord. So the ventral horn cells or the motor neuronal cells in your spinal cord, which is normal in Finn as much as in me, not a problem. So I exploit this. Now this is again plasticity. Now plasticity we talk, but we don't know how to take plasticity, get into action. And this is what Vasa concept does, that we make all the structures, all the areas of the brain, the cerebellum and the spinal cord to come into action, and that is a real plasticity, that we switch your brain from only depending on the right leg and letting the left leg just go like that. You say, you got to use your left side equally. So you are going to control the center of mass of your body through your leg, through your trunk, and through your arm. This results in the voluntary control automatically as a byproduct. So far, so good?
Think so?
Yeah. And then the way to get to this result where you use both sides of the body, then you use the different postures that you've seen examples of.
Yeah, through
here.
these different postures. We use these postures and body as one whole integrated unit and not this as separate and this as separate. So all those exercises where Mr. Kai was in the camel posture, if you know, and then he was only on the left leg and left, and then he was kicking the right leg in the air. So we are using the cerebellum on his left side and sending lot of proprioceptive input to the cerebellum. So now this cerebellum will calibrate once again to the cortex what cortex should do, and that's why the voluntary control or the selective control from the corticospinal tract or the pyramidal tract, it happens as a byproduct. You know what I mean by byproduct? Any chemical reaction you see, then there are a lot of byproducts. Similarly, when you do this with Vasa concept, that you reorganize the brain. So Vasa concept has simplified the dark box, how to give results. That the brain once starts reorganizing for the safety of its body and controlling the center of mass of the body through the paralyzed side, and you are reorganizing, the patient is on the road to recovery, and the voluntary control emerges as a byproduct.
So if you then transform this, and let's take now Mr. Finn, who is, I think, reduced capacity on his left hand and arm and so on. Are you positive that if you stay here another week, you will get him to show progress?
I can show the progress now in 1 hour.
So let's extend it
Let's
for
do
1
that.
hour then.
Is that okay for everybody? For me, it's okay because Sigrid has seen it. Right, Sigrid? And I wouldn't
Let's
say...
hear, but then we may want to have some chai before that.
Okay, some chai.
What is the consensus? What tycker vi?
Yes, we just put a mat here. I mean, those who want to leave can leave, and those who want to be here can be here. For us, no problem.
So we can say that the presentation is over, and for everyone that wants a demonstration can stay if they want to.
Exactly, and we are so few, and I'm sure everybody is curious. What
And
am I going
also
to do
we
in 1
can-
hour with him?
Something to eat or drink, I don't know.
Ska vi räcka upp handen och höra om det är ett acceptabelt förslag?
Ja. Absolut.
Vi måste gå.
Ni måste gå.
But have tea and...
Jag kommer filma en del om jag får plats kvar i kameran, så att det ska finnas möjlighet sen.
Tea and then you
Yes, certainly. I'm so happy you have come.
I've come from Chennai.
From Chennai. Oh, China did you go? You flew from
No,
China?
I'm joking. I've been to... Okay, let's
Maybe
have some
she
tea.
He lives here in
came
Uppsala,
from China.
somewhere.
Chennai, alltså. Not China.